Great, thanks a lot for your time today, Daley. Now, I've known you a long time. Sort of tell me about your past in boxing. Obviously, you used to box professional yourself.
Yeah. I was an amateur boxer. I was a professional boxer. My career got cut short because of injury and stuff, and personal stuff that gets in the way, But I wouldn't change it for a world because it's made me the coach I am today. So even though I could have been a world champion as a professional, now I get the chance to make world champion fighters as a coach. And it's about just sharing my past experiences, mistakes that I made along the way. So my fighters don't make the same mistakes, but also inspiring them as well and showing them the ropes and giving all my knowledge. And I always say, if I was to go back and fight now, I'd be a better fighter now than I was then, because the amount of knowledge I've picked up through coaching.
Oh yeah, I understand. I mean, I'm 32 now. I look back on my life, if I could relive it with the knowledge I've got now. Tell me about some of your friends in boxing. I used to watch you at my gym years ago with Derek Chisora. I know you had some sort of friendship going on. When's the last time you spoke to Derek?
Probably at the shows,
Oh.
at the last actually YouTube show.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, he was there. He likes going to those shows, so he's always there and about. So yeah, I mean, with boxing, it's a small world, so you're always bumping into everyone, all old faces, that you used to be around a lot.
What did you think of the recent Jake Paul-Tommy Fury fight? And do you think it was a bad fight to make for Jake Paul? Because I give the guy respect for getting in there, but when you're taking on someone that's been doing it for years before you've even stepped in a gym, it's just too much of a experience difference in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it went how I thought it would go anyway. Just thought the difference with he's been doing it since a kid, so like the fundamentals and stuff would have got him through the fight. Whereas Jake Paul, he hasn't picked up those fundamentals yet, because it's different from, the people that he was fighting or hitting the pads or hitting the bags to doing it against someone that knows their way around the ring. Like, one of the most important things in boxing is the ring IQ and the ring generalship.
Yeah.
Understanding when to punch, not to punch, when to keep your hands up, not to keep your hands up, when to move, not to move. And that's what you saw in that fight. You had one that didn't know how to really do all that stuff, and then you had the other person that knew how to handle himself in the ring and know his way around the ring. Jake Paul hasn't discredited him, I don't think. I mean, he dropped, even though it was
Called a slip.
Yeah, even though it was Fury's his own fault from being off balance and square. But he held his own. He lost on points. I think if he knew how to set up his shots properly, how to work behind the jab, he would have given him a better fight.
Yeah, I agree. Some good points. Tell me about some of the guys you work with. I've followed Deji for a long time. I really love his personality. It's funny, when I did the interview with him, a lot of people said it was a very chill interaction. Both of us sort of seem to have similar personalities. Tell me about Deji, King Kenny, some of the guys you work with.
Yeah, Deji's become like family, you know what I mean? Because that's with all my fighters. I'm not the kind of coach where you come to the gym and we do training and that's it. I don't want no other communication with you. I want the kind of relationship where they can open up to me and feel free about anything, even if it's not about boxing. I want to understand that fighter's personality and know them as a human being and not because of what they are. Like, say in Deji's case, he's a famous YouTuber. I didn't want to look at him like he's a famous YouTuber. I just wanted to look at him as a normal human being, so I can get to know the person for who he is. Because if you understand that person, it's easier to train them. It's easier to unlock the things that you want to unlock with them, So with Deji, it was just about, first and foremost, getting to know him as a person. The teaching of boxing is the easy part for me. It's just understanding him as a human being, so I know, I know what works for him and doesn't work for him. Some people need a shoulder to cry on, some people need to joke around and laugh. With boxers, you get so many different characters, and you need to understand them as people before boxers. That's my personal opinion.
And I agree with you. The last two questions I want to ask, I don't want to take up too much time. Following on from that last point, I strongly support that. I think a lot of people don't realise that boxers are obviously people, and to me boxing, a lot of the time they don't take into account what kind of person you are. I mean, I've seen people that are so talented, but then mentally they might not have the confidence. How important is that? Is that what sets you apart from other trainers, where you take noted? Yeah.
Well, it's not about setting myself apart from other trainers, because every coach is good in their own right, in my opinion, you know, so, and I'm still learning as a coach every day, even though I've got loads of knowledge and loads of experience. But for me, it's just, it's just very important for the mental health side of things as well, which don't get talked enough about in boxing. Like when Deji come to me, like mentally he wasn't there for boxing, you know. And that's why I really wanted to understand him and know him as a human being first, before I even thought about the boxing side of things. And that's why now, to this day, me and Deji can not even talk about boxing. It can be something completely different, and we laugh and we joke, you know, we talk about personal stuff, and all this helps in them also understanding you as a person, and also having the confidence and the trust to you know, because I've got that person's life in my hands. If you think about it, you know, when they're fighting, you can die in a sport. You know, if boxers don't know when to give up, I'm the one that's got that white towel. I'm gonna have to make some serious decisions. I hope I never have to make that decision, but that's why it's so important to understand your fighter in every aspect. My brother, King Kenny, even though he's my brother, when we're in the gym, he's not my brother. It's business, you know. And I treat him more like Deji, as like a friend way, because I wanna know him. You know, people get it. You know, sometimes you know your brother, but then a friend can understand that person more than your brother sometimes. You know what I mean? Because they know them in a different way than what your brother doesn't know them.
I get you.
So with my brother, I wanted to understand him in a different way to just what a brother sees him as, you know what I mean? So with Kenny, we're brothers first and foremost, but when he first come to me, I was like, if we're gonna do this, you have to understand, like, boxing ain't a game. So I've had to come with a different approach with him than Deji, but still the same approach, if that makes sense.
I know, what is your brother? There's that awkwardness. I know what you mean.
You know what I mean?
I know. Obviously, I've got brothers as well. It's a different, you know. I know what you mean.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, because like I've got to be able to tell him the truth as well when things are not, you know, going right. But I still want that relationship with him where we can crack a joke, you know what I mean, and laugh and all that, because boxing is very hard. But Deji already came with me with a little bit of boxing experience. My brother had no boxing experience, so I had to, it's weird, they went on a different journey. With Deji, I was more about tapping into that mindset, changing his mindset, you know, getting him to trust me as a human being, and for me to understand him as a human being. With my brother, it was about, he doesn't know anything about boxing whatsoever, and I have to teach him from the ground up what boxing is all about mentally as well as physically and technically. I had to tap into, like, this is not a game, you can get hurt, so I want you to come in the gym and apply yourself properly, so and learn every detail of the sport from the ground up, instead of just rushing you in there, telling you to fight, and then end up you being in a street fight kind of thing. I want him to learn the art of boxing. And then later on, the other things can just mold into that eventually, you know. So they went on a different journey. Yeah. But now we've come into the point now where we're all a family. We all crack jokes. We all talk about personal things. But when it's time to train, we train. We're the hardest workers.
Now I understand. I don't want to take up too much time, but with a brother, there might be that awkwardness. Obviously, if you're trying to criticize them or say for argument's sake, you tell him, you know, I don't think you're good enough. That's a very awkward. Like my younger brother, he's much more hot-tempered than I am. If he was to do boxing, if I was to try and tell him he's not good enough, he'd take it badly.
Yeah.
So I guess these are issues you've got to deal with. But last question for today. I'm actually sort of trying to get into it myself. I've had a few fights before. I sparred Kell Brook in October 21. You remember that? So I'm just trying to build the profile. What advice would you give to fighters in general? Because let me articulate it quickly. A lot of them don't realise, in a perfect world, yes, boxing should just be about how good you are at the sport. But the reality is in boxing, a lot of these people like Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, Adam Smith that I've known for years, if you can't do numbers and if you can't sell tickets, you're going to get ignored. Like, I'm getting sick and tired of trying to explain this to fighters. What advice would you give them? I mean, someone said this about Fury. These guys made championship league money on, what was the quote? I forget the quote, on National League or Sunday League talent. So what advice would you give to fighters trying to make their way in the sport who don't seem to grasp the concept of social media?
Well, they have to grasp it because that's the world we live in now. You know, you got to market. Have good marketing. You know, and it starts with yourself. I know, I get it, some people are a bit shy when it comes to all that stuff.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's the world that we live in, you know. For example, the way I try to build myself up is by being outspoken about boxing and not holding back and saying what I think, you know. And a lot of people, I think they hold back with their opinion when it comes to boxing, and they don't talk about some of the issues in boxing, like mental health, or like you can actually die in the boxing ring. So it's about taking it upon yourself to put yourself out there as well. And it is hard. Professional boxing, especially, it's all about tickets. It doesn't matter how good you are. If you can't do those numbers, unless you've come from the Olympics and they give you a big contract because they want your signature, because they don't want anyone else to get you, then that's different. But if you haven't gone down the Olympic route or anything like that, then when you're turning pro, if you don't do those numbers, you're not going to go with a big promoter, you're not going to go on those big shows. So I always say this, even down to your ring walk.
Well, wait.
I see boxers that always swapping and changing their song. You want an audience to, you know, relate to you. So pick a song that the audience will relate to, and then they will attach you to that song. Every time you fight, that they associate that song with you. For example, if you keep swapping and changing songs,
it breaks the momentum.
Yeah.
It was like WWF, you remember, these guys had specific songs.
Exactly.
Stone Cold was the glass breaking.
Exactly.
Triple H, time to play the game.
So these are the things I actually give advice to my fighters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like Kenny, for example, comes in with the same song every single fight. You know, 50 Cent, Many Men, he comes into that. So when everyone hears that, it gets the crowd going because they know he's walking out. You know, but if you look at all the great fighters, Vladimir Klitschko, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Kell Brook, all of the lights, you know, they stick to the same songs. You know, Usyk, even though I don't understand that song because it's
Ukrainian, I guess,
but it's the same song. Kovalev, same song. So that's just a small piece of many things that you can do to, you know, stand out. You know.
Yeah, just it builds momentum. Yeah, so
try and knock a few people out. That will help.
Yeah, of course. So that's a conversation for another time, but just work on your ability as well. A lot of people get distracted, like the recent Eubank Liam Smith fight, where his head was in different things. But it's enough time. I don't really.
But the thing is, my style is I love the Kronk style.
Yeah.
Like, so my inspiration was Emmanuel Stewart, and for me, a good way to market yourself and get yourself out there is you box with intelligence, behind the jab, behind the right fundamentals, But when it's time to open up, you open up with bad intentions and you try and get that fighter out of there. You don't get paid overtime.
No.
And if you want to be on those big shows, on those TV shows, and if you want the fans to remember who you are, you got to take people out. Simple as that.
Put the performances in.
Yeah.
But I don't want to take up too much time, so I tell you, I love Marvin Hagler, but conversation for another time. Thanks so much for your time today, Daley.
No problem.
Appreciate it, bro.